Hello, and welcome to episode 28 of St. Luke's Gallery. I hope you all had a very blessed Lent, Holy Week, and octave of Easter. I myself unplugged for that time, and I'm glad that I did because it's good to detach from the things of this world once in a while to get grounded in what really matters. And so for this very delayed episode, I'd like to share this painting with you called The Angelus by the 19th century French painter Jean-François Millet. This one is a little different from past episodes in that the subject of the painting isn't our Lord, His Blessed Mother, or even an angel or saint known to be in heaven. Instead, we have two simple, everyday people shown in silhouette form praying the Angelus. The world we live in today has become so secularized, but there was a time in the past when the Catholic world largely stopped at 6 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m. to pray the Angelus. It's a beautiful prayer and a great meditation, especially today, which is the Feast of the Annunciation. And I hope this episode can perhaps persuade some of you to consider adding the Angelus, if you haven't already, to your daily schedule. As we've done in previous episodes, let's start off with a brief bio of the artist. Jean-François Millet was born in 1814 in the farming community of Grouchy, located in the Normandy section of France. He spent his early years doing farm work with his family, and at the age of 19, he was sent to Cherbourg to study with the portrait painter Bon de Michel, later moving to Paris to study at the École des Beaux-Arts, where his first mission to the Salon, Saint Anne instructing the Virgin, was rejected. After his eventual acceptance by the Salon, he returned to Cherbourg, where he made his living as a portrait painter and realism paintings of peasant farmers like the subject matter of this episode. Jean-François Millet died at the age of 61 in the French village of Barbizon. St. Luke's Gallery is a site dedicated to sacred artwork. Other than the Angelus, few of Millet's works fall into that category, but I would be doing a disservice if I didn't share some of his other works. And so I'll start with this one called The Sheepfold. The setting is a plain between the French villages of Barbizon, where Millet spent his later years, and Cailly. I like the non-traditional shape of the moon here, and the waning light that's shining on the backs of the sheep as they uniformly follow their shepherd into the safety of the fenced-in area. As is the case with many of his paintings, Millet doesn't get too caught up in the details of faces and minute details. Instead, he lets the effect of natural lighting dominate the subject matter, and this is a great example. Another one similar to the one we just saw is Shepherdess with her flock. It's a different time of day here, but still, Millet has created a highly impactful scene where the romantic light of the early morning highlights the sheep, the back of the shepherd girl, and even the blades of grass and the dandelions in the foreground. Note that while the shepherd girl looks away, the silhouetted sheepdog to the right is at full attention, keeping his eye on the sheep. Looking at this one, I think about Mélanie Calvat, one of the seers of La Salette who, together with Maximin, saw the Blessed Mother shortly after they had prayed the Angelus. This is The Gleaners, and after the Angelus, it's one of Millet's best-known works. Gleaning was a centuries-old rite that poor women and children had to remove bits of grain left in the fields following a harvest. Millet emphasized with these people, and I think he captured it well in this painting, which, despite its acclaim today, was met with a rather hostile reception back in the day at the Salon. Note in the background the sunlight highlights an abundance of grain being loaded and carried off by the official farmhands. And now let's come back to the Angelus, which is in Paris's Musée d'Orsay. It was commissioned by an American art collector, Thomas Gold Appleton, who had previously studied with Millet's friend, Constant Troyon. Originally to be called Prayer for the Potato Crop, it was changed to the Angelus when Appleton failed to take possession of it. The painting was started in 1857 and seems to have been finished a couple of years later, but it wasn't displayed to the public until 1865. As I noted with the Shepherdess painting, this one too makes me think a lot about La Salette. The subject here are adults instead of children, and they've been working in the fields harvesting crops, rather than shepherding like Melanie and Maximin were doing that day. The two here are heavily silhouetted, as opposed to some of the more ancillary things around them, like the dew-glistening crops, the metal on the rake, and the handles on the wheelbarrow. I think it's safe to say that most painters today, and certainly now, would probably have the focus instead on the people. The colors here are really powerful. Note the abundance of gold, oranges, greens, blues, and violets in the sky, and how that mixture of color comes down to the right of what looks to be a rainstorm just to the right of the church steeple. Also of note is the demeanor of the two farmhands here. They aren't just rattling off some repetitive prayer. Both have their heads down, and he has removed his hat. Compare their mannerisms and the modest manner of dress they're in to what so many of us see today on the street, and even sadly in our churches. And if there's a feeling in this painting of prayerful silence, I think that's very apt. Do you think there's another sound going on except the bells in the distance, notifying them that it's time to pray the Angelus? The Angelus may be a very old painting from a bygone era of nobles and peasants, but I find it inspiring and a great meditation about the importance of prayer. Today's world is too busy and too loud. We really, really need to take some time out, to tune out, and to give thanks. And that concludes episode 28 of St. Luke's Gallery. I'll have a new episode soon, so until then, please visit stlukesgallery.com and also the channels on BitChute, Vimeo, Rumble, or YouTube. Questions or comments can be sent to mail at stlukesgallery.com.